He was one of the primary organizers of Clean Slate. He was the PowerPoint and video tech the day of the event. He was also the editor of the comedic series, The Misadventures of Axel Brunson. Today, I'm passing the mic with longtime friend and colleague, Karlo Keet. How are you doing today, Carlo?
Doing well. How are you doing, David?
I'm always good. Thanks for joining me,
Good.
man. We have a broad base of listeners with the Creativity, Excitement, Emotion podcast, including artists, creatives, creators, coaches, and entrepreneurs. It's been my contention for a long time that anyone in that category should know a photographer. Anytime you've got a website overhaul, a new book or album coming out, or even just to manage your brand online, you're going to need photos. So, how is it that you got into photography and the work you do at Cast Star Images, Carlo?
If you want to go way back, it started when I was gifted like a point and shoot when I was a teenager. I was probably like 12 or 13. I got this little point and shoot to take pictures with. And then throughout junior high and high school, I did film photography, black and white, where I learned how to develop film and develop like actual photo prints in darkroom. So I did that. But then after I graduated, that all stopped. And I stopped doing photography altogether until it'd be fast forward probably another 10 more years, probably around 2008 when I bought my first DSLR. But even before then, I was actually working for a photo studio chain doing their editing work.
Hmm.
I would I would basically work in Photoshop every day, editing photos of customers, and not just one store, like all the locations. And I was basically the imaging department. I was the one man department. And then it wasn't until like it was in 2008 when I got my first DSLR, because I was into like 3D artwork, and I wanted to have realistic nature backdrops because the theme was fairies and forests. So I bought my first DSLR, hoping to get some nice shots of like landscapes, nature, and scenery, stuff like that. And then, I was doing that for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, had a friend who was a makeup artist who, suggested the idea that, oh, I want to practice my makeup, and let's take pictures of my daughter as the model. Like, okay, sure. And that's how it all started.
Hmm. And you've
Yeah.
taken photos of all kinds of things, artists, models, landscape, nature. You kind of touched on all those. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite, or you just love taking photos of anything and everything?
Almost anything and everything. I can't do it everything. That's a lot of work, but I think my favorite would be people.
Taking
Mm.
photos of people. And nowadays with personal brands, like that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I mean, it's only natural that someone in your position would be asked about graphic and web design. And I know that's something you've been doing for many years, and recently it seems like it has become more of a mainstay. So what types of projects are you excited about working on?
I do have a Shopify store for one client I'm working on in selling artwork. So that's actually a pretty fun project.
Hmm.
It kind of inspires me to connect with my own creative side, especially with the recent solar storm that happened past weekend, taking pictures of the auroras. So that inspired me to like, man, I wonder if I should sell my nature prints again, especially of the auroras. People are actually loving this one particular shot I took. Like I
Yeah.
put it on media and on my personal social media, and I get a lot of likes, responses. I put it in different groups, and I'm getting like at least I think I'm getting over 200 likes on that one particular image, and it's still growing as we speak. Yeah, so I'm thinking I could revive my print on demand store with all my nature, all my scenery shots, and also I have other client work as well. I have a client who's a research university who I'm doing website work for, just doing updates and stuff like that, maintaining that, as well as we're doing the Catstar Media website, which is coming up in this by the end of this quarter. And yeah, those are just a few projects I'm working on right now at the moment.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And speaking of the auroras, I mean, people were seeing all kinds of colors that they've never seen before this year. What is your opinion on what's going on? Is there just more pollution up there, or is there some kind of crazy experiment in the sky? What do you sense about it?
No, I think it's from what I've seen in the news regarding that something called the solar maximum.
Hmm.
I'm guessing my guess on that, my take on that is that that's like a really powerful solar storm, and it hasn't happened since 2003, so that's like over 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've seen the reds, I've seen all those unusual colors in the sky in the past.
Hmm.
So I probably wouldn't say it would be pollution, but
Yeah.
more, you know, very a very rare occurrence of colors in the sky from the solar flares, like stronger than normal than what you would normally see, considering that Vancouver is outside the aurora belt, so we don't really get to see an opportunity to see auroras very often. Like when I lived in Calgary,
Oh,
even
yeah.
then you saw a little more. It's not like being up in the Yukon, but you're able to see a little bit more. And then you go to Vancouver, and you know, good luck finding auroras until like recently. Then everybody was out and about checking them out. Like we tried to go to Pitt Lake, and it was like packed. Like even RCMP was there, just to keep an eye on things. So we ended up going to Stave Lake in Mission, BC, on a Forest Service road, and took some shots. There's some people there, but not it wasn't as crazy as Pitt Lake, and that's where I got the shots that I took recently.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
guess some things only do happen every 10 to 20 years. And I'm definitely not making light of this situation, but when I was living in Abbotsford, they drained Lake Sumas, right, to create space for the highway and the flats and then farms and all that. And then the one year, it was just a couple of years ago, right? It rained and there was excessive amount of rain day after day after day to where Lake Sumas had resurfaced. And I was told by locals, oh, that actually just happens every 10, 20 years because we don't quite have this all figured out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting. I never thought there'd be a lake there.
Yeah, I guess there used to be. They just removed it. And you know what you said about Castar Media, of course, like I'm super excited about where we're taking that as well and bringing some digital marketing services to the masses, the people who require marketing and advertising. And to be honest, I think that is like a greater need than ever. There's just so
Mhm.
many creators and creatives and artists trying to get their stuff out there, and everyone needs a way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could be the most creative person in the world, but if you don't know how to market, then or don't have the resources, then
Hmm.
what good is that? That's
Exactly.
And that's something I'm discovering for myself. Like, oh, my photos are great, but how do I get it out there? There's something to that.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
either like you could like boost posts, or you can get a freelancer to who specializes in that sort of thing, in that sort of marketing. There's also influencer marketing. So there's plenty of options out there. It all depends on how you want to brand yourself. There's so many factors, and even I'm no expert, but I'm all learning day by day, learning something new about marketing and what's out there, what works, what doesn't. So it's quite the journey.
It really is. And I think moving forward, it's going to be one of the key focuses of the podcast and my newsletter too, is modern marketing practices, which kind of brings us to another important point. How has your work changed with the emergence of AI? And what are some of the ways it supports you in your daily work?
It that's I embrace it.
Hmm.
Even as an artist, I embrace it. Like, there are people out there who are like, oh, AI is gonna take our jobs. AI,
Hmm.
oh, it's stealing our work and all that. And it's like, yeah, like it has to learn somewhere. Yeah, I would be appreciated if people like submit their actual artwork to contests and shows, and rather than just typing in a prompt and here it is. Oh, I won first prize. How did you did it? Oh, I just typed a few text in there and ta-da. But yeah, no, for yeah, usually use it as like a tool. like rather than being against it, I choose it to be a tool for my work. Like for example, like with logo creations, I use it to create like rough drafts of like logos, just get some ideas. I won't use it, totally take the entire image, but make get some inspiration, for like creating like certain design work, and create lists or create some kind of verbiage. Then Chat GPT is one of my go-tos, because I'm no copywriter or anything like that. So
Mhm.
I'll use Chat GPT to write my stuff if needed, and apply it to my work. Sometimes I'll make some changes to it, just customize it, tweak it, you know, for my needs. And yeah, no, I just find it as a great tool. But it definitely, I think it's just great, just just for inspiration, and just you know motivation is the way I look at it.
Yeah, and this is the weird thing about awards is the people who are winning the awards are the people who are submitting their work. Really weird how that works. The reason I bring that up is because sometimes go, you're an award-winning author, right? I'm like, I'm not an award-winning author. I'm a best-selling author. But I'm now realizing, because I've read up on the subject, that if I had submitted my work to award shows and stuff like that, I could also be an award-winning author. So that
Mhm.
might be something that I add to my resume here in the near
Yeah,
future.
something to keep in mind. And that's what I realized too with my photography. I'm thinking, I have never had the opportunity to submit, you know, my work, win some awards. So it's like, I wonder what that would be like. And, what contests, could I enter? So that's
Yes.
something that I'm exploring myself with my work. So, and it helps get recognition as well. So that's something I'm looking into, especially with the most recent photos that I've taken, especially of the auroras.
It's been said in the next 10 years that AI is pretty much going to overtake humanity with their logical processing, which doesn't necessarily mean creative processing, but for logical processes, it'll be far superior. How do you think that's going to affect our work? How do you think it's going to change?
Yeah, I think in terms of productivity, it could be efficient, but I honestly don't think it will replace everything.
No.
It's not, it's going to be like Skynet or anything like that and have a massive takeover like in the Terminator. um, who knows? But yeah, no, I feel it would help with certain production processes, in my opinion, especially with the web and in creating like content. And yeah, for from that logic perspective. But from what I mentioned before about creativity, yeah, I still feel that the human touch is still needed to create like artwork, and whether it's through an iPad or an actual canvas. Yeah, it still needs that human interaction, that's human creation.
Yeah, and it's been my contention for a long time that every solution seems to create new problems. And so even with the emergence of AI, it's kind of like that's going to create a new kind of job role, which right now is like prompt engineer, which is what I'm getting into, oddly enough. It's pending contract, but I'm pretty sure it's firming up here. So that's what I see about it is that it's not just going to be prompt engineers. I think at some point that's going to run thin too, and we won't need prompt engineers anymore in the same way we need now. But in saying that, like every new technology seems to create some other problem, which is one way of putting it, I guess, but maybe opportunity or challenge that human beings have to creatively solve. And I think there's always going to be engaging work. And I think I have peace of mind, me personally, about the fact that myself and my colleagues, we're always going to find something to do. We're creative, we're artists, we like doing stuff. So it's not like just because AI can do everything, we're not going to do stuff anymore. And I hope that's how people are beginning to think about it too, that look, everybody's still doing stuff right now. They're still making sales funnels. They're still producing art. They're still making music. They're still writing books. So I don't know if there's an expiration date on all that. The demand might change, the way we think about it or consume it might change, but not the production of it.
Yeah, can't always be relying on every single thing. Like I use Midjourney a lot just to help me create, with the creative process. But I can tell that I can never really use it for full on artwork because I look at certain details. It's like there's an extra finger there, or there's an
Hmm.
extra arm, or these trees look weird. Everything is just yeah. I rather just create it myself and then use it, like I said, you know, as a means to create some ideas. So
Yeah. And you bring up a good point too, which is that some of it just isn't that good yet. Yeah, certainly
no,
it's getting better. And there's definitely niches where it seems to be like, well, holy cow, like it's really good. There's aspects of ChatGPT that are now amazing, and it's going to be, GPT-4 and GPT-5 and GPT-6, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. And pretty soon it'll produce amazing looking guitar tabs and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, the reality is we're still programming it to do all those things. Someone's programming to do it.
mm,
Otherwise, you wouldn't need prompt engineers, right?
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
the next, we'll have like the neural processing units in our computers and our phones dedicated to that. And so maybe, it'd be like a combination, maybe like the cloud and, like your device just to process all that.
Yeah. It seems like there could certainly be a sinister or dark side to where that could go. But I have no, at least because people are going a little bit crazy over AI takeover. Oh no, I'm going to lose my job. Oh no, this. Oh no, that. And I'm like, there's no signs pointing in that direction at this moment in time, right?
Yeah.
We can go listen to conspiracy theorists and maybe get a sense of what they're thinking about it, and that's not wrong. I've done that on occasion too. And you could also watch new mainstream media to kind of balance it out and see where people's heads are at this. But I don't see any signs yet right now that there's going to be some kind of takeover.
Like even in my website design, like I was playing around with a certain builder that, uses AI to generate the site for you.
Mhm.
And I know there are services out there and like features out there where you can get AI to just generate the site for you for a low cost. And it's like, yeah, if you could see it as like a threat to your job as a web designer and be like, oh well, I'm going to lose my job because they're basically just going to make sites at a press of a button. But it's like, you know what? Well, why don't I incorporate it in my service?
Mhm.
Why not? Like, it's not 100%. It's not perfect because there's still things in the AI that's not 100% when you're creating the site. And you still need to go in there. You still need to like, fix up the verbiage, maybe choose some more appropriate images for your site rather than what it picks on whatever stock website it gets this, content from. So, I still feel like you still need to have like, humans to like, create. So, like
Oh
I said,
yeah.
yeah.
The one time I experimented with it, and I think it was on Wix, it produced something pretty ugly and bad. And I was like,
Yeah.
and there's again, it's one of those things. It's obviously going to get better. But pretty much Gen X, like older than you, anyone that's kind of more like, let's say 47, 48, probably 50 for sure. Anybody in that category is still going to be like, hey, could you build me a website? Right? Because there's definitely a generation that maybe has learned quite a bit of tech, but doesn't want to learn more tech and would really rather have someone else handle things for them.
Mhm.
So at least in the immediate future, you're not looking at a lack of projects necessarily. There's going to be people that are just going to go like, I don't care how efficient or not efficient it is. I just don't want to learn it. So can you please help me with this?
Yeah, and that's the thing because I was born at at the tail end of Gen X, like in
Yeah.
'79. So yeah, there are people who are like, "Oh, I don't want to figure this out. You figure this out." And yeah, and I like technology. I like to, learn these sort of things. How to make websites and stuff. Like be creative with it. So yeah, I can definitely, provide that service to people. Like especially my own generation where, oh, I don't want to work on this. Well, then I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
I'll do the site for you. These are my rates. What do you want done? Let's collaborate. Let's, have a discussion and I'll help you put it together. So yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where I'm in.
I mean, even previous to this, it was like all about the frameworks are now going to destroy us. If you have the Divi framework, anybody can build a website. Which is true, but I found with my clients, if I gave them free reign, it was like anybody can destroy a website was more like it. So
Oh, yeah, it looks, yeah, well, it's easy for us, but for like the average, but for the client, like your average person doesn't know anything about websites, they can go in there and be like, oh, okay, I could do it this way. And then they found out that their whole design is like all out of whack and
yeah.
elements are somewhere where they don't belong, and the whole site's pretty much like the not maybe the page or even the entire site could be ruined. I don't know. So it depends on how much they got in there and what they've done. So
Yeah. With difficult clients, I have to admit, like, I don't take ownership of that. I'm just like, okay, you have free reign now. I'm just going to begin the process of handing everything over to you, and you can just pay your invoice and we can call it a day.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and there's some people like that. I have clients like that. It's like, okay, can you fix this for me on the website? Sure, okay, done.
Something else our listeners might find interesting is the spiritual work you do. Karlo is a psychic, tarot reader, Reiki master. I know you've offered many readings, you've offered many healing sessions. Give us a bit of a glimpse into that world.
Yeah, well, that started back in my discovery that started back in the 2000s. I'd say around 2000, 2001. It was after my dad told me a story about how he tapped into a healing energy
Hmm.
and able to heal something on my mom's face and heal a birthmark on my back when I was a baby. And that prompted me to be like, to look into that some more. It's like, oh, okay, like healing. Of course, it was like, all I could think of is like, oh, if you want to, get this dealt with, you go to the doctor, you get it treated or whatever. And thinking, there has to be more than that. So,
Hmm.
and so I looked into Reiki and Googled it. And, the first result I saw on Google back then was the first person I took to learn Reiki, like the first master. So like, okay, it's great. Well, I'll learn from her. So went to a Reiki share a couple of weeks later, and then on my way there, my knee was starting to hurt real bad walking there. So by the time I got there, I was a little bit of pain, and when it was my turn to get on the table, yeah, they did the work on me, and the pain in my knee was gone. And that's when I got enrolled in in the Reiki training.
Hmm.
Another 2 weeks later, I learn it, and then I was learning all these techniques, hands-on and distant Reiki, as well as going to monthly Reiki shares, and that's how I really got good at it.
Hmm.
To the point where I was like, helping people out, and I was actually, doing Reiki work at like certain shows and exhibitions, and yeah, that's how that started. And as for tarot, that started, I'd say probably around roughly 2004 when my Reiki master at the time, she was giving me an oracle card reading. And it was like, okay, cool. Okay, so you instead of tarot cards, you're using something called oracle cards. So she gives me the reading, and that prompted me to get my own deck,
Hmm.
play around with it. And then I took some formal training on how to use the cards, how to do readings. And after that, that's when I started to do, readings at like, shows, exhibitions, and even for friends and family. So my own little practice. So that's how it all started. And then after a few years, then I started looking into tarot, and it was a bit daunting at first. I'm thinking, how do I interpret these cards? How do I understand this? So it took me like a couple of years, 2, 3 years to figure that out. And once I figured it out, then I was confident enough to like, um, uh, give, tarot readings to others. Yeah. And started doing it, over Zoom over the pandemic and in person and, making a few bucks here and there, doing those readings. So yeah, it's been quite the journey there. And well, and then aside from that, I do a lot of connecting with angels. I do a little bit of mediumship. So there's just many things I do on the spiritual end. I do meditations, and you and I we've been collaborating making meditation tracks with a couple other team members. So yeah, that's what we're up to. That's what I'm up to.
Yeah, and there will be more forthcoming for sure. And
Mm.
it was really interesting how we got to explore a lot of this stuff in the question community, right? Like way back in the day. It's like
Yes.
2015, 2016-ish.
Mm.
And it was a really fun community, but we really looked at the metaphysical, the spiritual, the esoteric, energy, all that kind of stuff. And it's really, really fascinating. And I'm sure we could do a deep dive, but we only have so much time for this conversation, so we'll leave it there for now. Um, but I think when it comes down right down to it, like you and I are both fun-loving guys, which is why we have a love for comedy. You've certainly infected our social circles with B movies, and we've also collaborated on oddball side projects like Compizor and Bork Meow. If the sky was the limit and you could spend an infinite amount of time creating comedic content, what sort of things would you create?
Oh gosh, what would I create? The usual nonsensical stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff that's dense. Like I probably take like I probably take something like maybe something in the real world and it's like I would just make do some comedic with that. Like I don't know, there's so much things I could think about. Like I could talk about I could make fun of like social media and creating social media posts. We can probably do a spoof or parody of that.
Hmm.
We can there's so many things we can like create. The sky's the limit, really.
Yeah.
It's like that. So we can I can take like I'm very I don't I just don't get into like politics and stuff like that.
Right.
I stay away from that, but I can do like I can if I make comedy out of like like I said, like people doing social media or like real life situations, stuff like that. Stuff you could probably see on TikTok, but maybe take it to a whole new level. Maybe we could do a Lego animation, or we can maybe add some augmented reality. Who knows? We could probably do something that would
Mm,
really set, raise the bar and a whole new level of content creation. So it really all depends.
that would be neat for sure. Quirky music videos and
But
bad
yeah,
techno and parodies and memes. Yeah, I could see
yeah,
the all kinds of opportunities there.
yeah. So we could do like kind of like we could do like comedic music videos that we've done in the past.
Yeah,
We can create our own, like in the past, create our own like we could create bad techno if you wanted to, and then
absolutely.
just have like we could do like a comedic rave, maybe some polka elements with some brave elements, and really, we can really, yeah, we can really create whatever we want.
Polka rave. Yeah, and I think we
Oh,
still will, right? Once we like we did the most recent thing was the misadventures of Axel Brunson, which was a lot of fun. And I ended up scripting pretty much the whole thing. I had some help from you, of course, some input on the comedic side of things. I think it ended up being a great little project. And if anybody wants to check it out, it is on YouTube, parts 1 through 4. Is that right? I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Think and Grow Rich,
Hmm.
Napoleon Hill.
Great one. Yeah.
Great one. That's a classic. So that helped. Let's see. As for my Reiki journey, Essential Reiki, Diane Stein. hmm And then those are the two books that really get my attention. I've read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yep.
and
Good one.
they're good ones. I'm middle of reading a book from Cynthia Larson regarding what was this about quantum field and manifesting money, and so those are the books that really get my attention right now or in the past for at the moment. So I'm trying to think of more. I say, what else have I read?
I'm sure a variety of different things through the
Yeah,
years.
some names that they're like names I don't even remember. It's like, oh, what was that name of that book? Tip my tongue. So yeah, but the ones that really stand out was Essential Reiki and You Can Grow Rich.
Yeah, I think like large swaths of my personal philosophy are based on Think and Grow Rich. It's not everything, but I mean, if you want a good foundational book on how I think about things and how I look at things, that's a really good read. And I'd say it's on the bookshelf of pretty much every millionaire too. So
Mm,
essential
yeah,
reading if you haven't.
yeah. And as for courses, we were in team management leadership program for 2 years, so that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
That that was big. That was that made a huge difference in my life. I had a lot of breakthroughs, not breakdowns, but a lot of breakthroughs in how I see the world, how I can communicate with others. Like it wasn't for the program, I probably would not be on this podcast or be a decline to be on the podcast. And
Hmm.
I'd probably be started thinking, I don't know what to say about this. And I don't know if I have an answer to that. Yeah, so that was huge.
Would you describe it as like life changing and transformational? As broad strokes as those terms are, is that how you would look at that program, what it's done for you?
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
I would be very transformational for sure.
What are your next big goals or plans?
Next big goals and plans is to like get back into photography, get Caster Media, off the ground. Those are the two things that I'm focused on right now, as well as the third project, Intergalaxy Vibes, that we're doing.
Mhm.
So that'd be three. Those are three things that I'm focused on right now. If I do any more, then nothing will get done.
Agreed. Three is a good number.
Yeah, and well, if you want to count Caster Media and images as one thing, then it's two. But it really all depends how you look at it.
Cat Star Group, since we'll start a podcast network and then we'll start a YouTube network. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah,
But
and interesting is that with networking, I'm actually going to a networking on a yacht or network on a boat event this week.
oh yeah,
So that should be interesting.
very. Is there a theme to that networking event?
No, unless the boat's the theme, but I don't know, or just the location. Who knows?
Yeah, networking on the water. I mean,
Yeah.
I hear there is something about, meeting people and communicating with people and masterminding with people on the ocean or on water uh, that's just different. You
Mhm.
can think more clearly and all that kind of stuff. So
For sure.
it should be good.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Well, thanks for your time and generosity, Carlo. Is there anything else we should have talked about?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think we covered a lot in that short period of time. Like I was able to really express, where I'm at and what I've been up to and my transformation. I would love to, like if we had more time, I would like, go into more depth and detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we've already covered lots already.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have you back for some more deeper look into some of these subjects, but today has been great. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.